Welcome back to our podcast. For those that are listening, hopefully you guys are following us there on your favorite podcast place to listen. And if you're watching us on YouTube, thank you again, and make sure you subscribe to our channel here as well as follow us on TikTok or Facebook, anywhere that you're watching or listening to us. Today we have an interesting podcast. It's a fun one. But sorry, it's a fun one, but it does have serious topics that maybe we'll get some of your opinions. Amadis and Wolf don't have any knowledge of what they're going to be listening to, but I got some fun things from the internet to talk about. What you guys think?
I like some fun with some seriousness sprinkled in there.
I
Um,
I don't know about fun, but I mean, I sometimes I like to be surprised, so I'm
Yes.
looking forward to see what you brought to the table.
So I'm bringing one star church reviews.
Oh.
So um,
wow.
nowadays you can review anything online and you can place it on various websites. So I found some one-star reviews from a church that I believe all of us have
Have
visited
we we
some
have
point.
visited this church?
Stop.
All of us.
We have visited this church.
Now we're on I'm really
Oh my
curious.
I
gosh.
think all of us have at some point. Could be wrong. I've been wrong before. Um,
I'm glad you admitted that you've been wrong before,
yeah,
by the
I
way.
haven't been wrong this year.
I'm glad you said that.
I think that's true. It's wrong about that.
So, anyways, I think we have visited. And if we haven't, it's okay. We're gonna keep all pastors and all church names and all church members anonymous. That way, we don't get attacked. But also, it's just out of
But
respect.
if the shoe fits, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
kidding.
But if you know
No,
who you
no attacks.
are, yeah, yes. So, I just chose three. It had multiple. It's a bigger church, and the bigger the church is, the more reviews it has. I was looking at different churches, and some had like 10 reviews and they were all 5 stars, which were probably the church members.
People who've been there for years, they'll just leave a five
Yeah.
star.
Yeah, the deacons, the elders, that's probably who they were.
It was the pastor himself.
Using multiple names.
Yeah, yeah.
A
Um,
wonderful pastor.
yeah.
It was what do they call a burn account?
Yeah. The sermons feel like they were well thought of. No,
Um,
so yes, but yes, there's a lot of churches that had like three or four, a few 5 star, 4 star reviews that you could tell it's probably church members that have been there forever, or it's people who probably are working in the church. A lot of churches don't have reviews still, but I did find one that I think, like I said, I think we've all at one point visited. So we will play the guess what church that is once the video ends.
Oh, okay.
wait,
And
and that
listening.
I
oh,
wonder
it won't be on this
as soon as he
episode
says
though, right?
something, Lord, I wonder if as soon as he says something though, I'm gonna be like, oh, I know what church it is. And I know who that person is.
You can't reveal it. You
No,
can't
I
say
won't. I
anything.
won't reveal it. I will say I don't know any of the people that reviewed the church. So,
Okay.
but you guys have other friends than me. I
Um,
like to think that you guys have
we do know
friends.
a lot of people in Dallas, to be honest. So,
Oh, I think he
Who's
just gave
who
away
said it's
in
in
Dallas.
Dallas?
oh, I meant San Antonio and Houston.
Could be could be Fort Worth. Kidding.
I didn't know. Oh yeah, I don't know what city it is.
Yeah,
It could be
if you know us, we've only lived together in a few places, which is the
yeah,
DFW, Oklahoma City,
and
and we didn't
McAllen.
really live in Oklahoma City, but you visited a lot.
No,
And
I
he
I lived
lived
there for a
there.
few months,
What do you
like
oh
a
mean?
few
yeah, you
months of my
did.
internship.
You
Yeah.
lived with me.
Yeah.
How can you forget it?
So we've all lived
Um,
in
I
both
lived,
same
and I can say
places
that
in our adult life.
I can say I lived with you before Amaris did.
You
So
did.
there, yeah,
Yeah,
I did.
yeah,
Yeah, in that
yeah.
house.
We shared towels before we shared stuff.
Okay, don't. Now you're making it sound weird.
Yeah. So, anyways, and then the Valley. We've all lived in the Valley. So,
Yeah,
any of those.
Okay.
But we lived the most in Dallas.
We lived
Yes,
in most
that
of
we
it.
lived
yeah.
the most in
So
Dallas.
when we think of where we all met and our time together, we usually think of Dallas, right?
Yeah,
Well, kind of Oklahoma City too, to be honest.
sort of.
We spent a
Yeah,
lot of time in Oklahoma City
I feel like our friendship flourished more in Oklahoma City.
because we finally got to know each other
We got to
more.
know each other
What are you
more,
talking
but
about?
Because we weren't even really that close of friends our first 2 years in college. Not
I
that great
think
of
I
friends.
guess for me, I think it was the fact that our like there was some distance and then like you would come. We tried to, compile a bunch of things to do together at once. And it wasn't so much that it's like we got close or anything. I felt like we were already close, but maybe
Well, yeah, we
it
were.
was more valuable. I think that's the word.
yeah,
Yeah.
I
More
feel
valuable.
like once you're out of school, the friends that you keep from school,
Mhm.
they're very valuable.
Yes.
We still try to reach out to friends, obviously. Amadis does a better job than I do at reaching out at friends,
She's better
but
at staying connected than you.
I
yeah,
try, but
I try to like stuff and
She's more active on social media than you are, I'd say.
yeah.
Yeah. So, but if you really keep a friendship like we have kept, and we talk every week, and even the week
Yeah.
that we don't talk, we'll at least text. I think that shows that for sure. Outside of college, there's more of a friendship. So, yeah, it's not just college.
No, no. 12 years of friendship, 13 years coming up this year. Well, 13 years of knowing each other.
Yeah, I've
Years
known each
in
other.
August.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
three posts. I'm gonna start with the first one, and then we can give our opinions of what the person said. Have we experienced that? Have we not experienced that? And if we have experienced, what do you guys think that should be done with it? But okay, um, don't look at names.
I can't see.
So, so
I'm gonna be
it
Googling it
says,
as you're
He
talking.
has it blown up and I still can't see.
okay. Okay, so it says, I love the pastor and his leadership, but the music has become way too loud for us middle-aged people. I have to wait until the first one or two songs are over to even go into the service. Today, the keyboard player had it cranked up so loud that you couldn't hear the message from the local pastor. Not conducive to a worshipful experience for me, and we have been attending for several years now. Usually, the message is good, but the bearded pastor had to talk about the negative responses to his beard. More like a ZZ Top concert today. I had to walk out. So
Wow.
there's a few things he's talking about here. Um, One is just the loudness of music.
Yeah.
Two, it feels like he's a little bit against like people playing behind the pastor while the pastor's preaching. Because he's like the keyboard player was cranked up, and I couldn't hear the message, right? So that's a
Yeah.
second thing, and then the last thing, or the last thing is that the pastor mentioned, I guess, his beard a little bit too much
And
in the
she mentioned a
sermon.
bearded pastor, like she was
Yeah,
about
and he was talking
to
about the
point of
negative
fact.
comments to his beard. Um, and he said it just felt like a ZZ Top concert today, so he walked out. So yeah, I guess three different things.
Who's ZZ Top?
ZZ
People,
Top.
I didn't know, like, I
ZZ
don't want to
Top.
ask you, I'm wondering, do you guys, when you go to churches, do you leave reviews like you do at a restaurant? Because honestly, when I visited churches, I never looked at reviews.
No.
I
No.
never did. So
Okay.
this is new to me, huh?
I will say I did have a local church send me a text message asking me how like what I felt about the church service or like if I was gonna go back. So in that case, I was honest and I was like, I'm not going to go back and here is why.
Yeah. It's a,
But
Here's
that
the
was
they kind of
the
42
ask you for a
reasons
review.
why.
but that was the only time I've ever quote unquote given a review of a church,
Mm,
I believe.
Yeah. We've so we both, me and Amaris, where am I pointing? Me and Amaris,
nice.
both have some type of worship degree. Um, you don't have a worship degree, right, Rolf? No, you don't.
I have a
We
degree
have a
from
Bible.
Bible degree,
Yeah.
basically.
So,
Bible.
I think maybe you had some classes like this, but we were encouraged to go to churches that were not our denomination, sometimes close, sometimes very much different from our denomination. So we have like sat down and write papers judging and reviewing churches, but never like posted
Right.
something like this.
Mm,
Yes.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. It seems like this guy is an ongoing person though. It's like he's a
He
member.
said he'd have been
Been
going
there,
for
it seems
years.
like he's been there for a while, and then the
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
changes he
We've
didn't
been attending for
appreciate.
several years. Yeah.
And he mentioned the keyboard, so they're playing the keyboard while the pastor is preaching. Is that what you're
So
getting out of it?
the church that we go here, the Valley, does that.
It's
Um,
towards the end though.
it's towards
It's
the end.
I feel like that's normal. Or
Yeah,
I
it's normal. Yeah, when they have the altar call, someone comes up and starts playing the piano or something.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He goes off the pulpit. He goes like, "Let's just talk," and then we get the
Yeah,
little kid on the background.
we know. Yeah.
Have you been suffering today?
I don't think he
Just
said
call 1-800. I'm
What
kidding.
kind of churches are you going to?
No, I'm kidding.
he doesn't say that.
No, he doesn't say that. No, no, but we've gone. I'm trying to think if um so I don't think I've ever maybe I did it once or twice in DCC that I was asked to do that, like to play background music as the preacher was doing it.
With the guitar.
With the guitar, yeah, yeah, yeah. I thought it was weird.
That is
With the
weird.
guitar. Yeah.
Yeah. But I like 99% of my experience of church, I've never done that. I've done it for like prayer a
Mhm.
lot, for
Mhm.
prayer,
Yeah.
it makes sense. But for a sermon, I understand where he's coming from in the sense of whenever someone starts playing an instrument, especially as a musician, my focus directs my attention to that person. Because then I'm looking at like, what are they doing, stuff like that. Uh, but in my perspective, I'm different. Not
Mm.
everyone does that. Um, he's saying it was just way too loud. He couldn't hear the pastor.
Yeah, so he's saying it wasn't a fact he didn't find it's not that he found it annoying. He just literally couldn't hear, is basically
Yeah,
what he's saying, right?
yeah.
It
He's
was
just
preventing him
middle-aged,
from hearing
way too
the
loud for
pastor.
us middle-aged people. I wonder what he means by middle age, like 40,
Probably 40s
50?
or 50s, probably.
Um,
That's typically what people mean, 40s to 50s.
what is because I've like honestly, this does not sound middle-aged. To me, this sounds
Boomer.
Older? Like 60s,
I'm
70s?
not putting no generation.
Me neither. She wasn't gonna tag a generation. Now you just tagged the generation.
Put your stones down, lady.
You Gen Z, are you? I'm just
Yeah,
kidding. You're not a.
yeah.
She's a millennial, guys.
We're at the end of millennials, yeah. No,
We're
but
the
yes,
younger
I
side of
mean,
millennials.
this comment, I guess I've heard it from people that are like in their 70s or 80s, like they get too distracted or it's too loud. Before that, he does say he has to wait for the first two songs to be over before he even goes into the service.
I'm guessing that means the fast songs.
So
Because there's normally in a worship set you have like 4 to 5 songs, and the first
yeah,
two are like the fast
fine.
ones.
To get everyone hyped up.
So
Yeah.
so he probably waits for those to be over and goes in and start playing like the more slow worship music.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which again, it's understandable. I feel like a lot of people do that. Um, some people don't do it because of the loudness. Some people just do it because they don't know how to act in those styles of songs. Like for example,
They feel weird just standing there and just not doing anything.
yeah.
You can't.
Like you don't see me like
Exactly.
I'll clap for a little bit and then it just goes to me keeping a beat in my chest. Uh but you don't see me dancing or
You
anything
don't see
like
it
that.
like this.
Yeah, no. And I've heard one too many sermons where they're like, "Wow, what if you went to a concert? How would you react?" I would react the same way. Like you would not see me jumping. I would be
I've
that
never.
person in the
Did you?
crowd like this.
Did you ever go to a? Did we ever go to a concert together? I can't remember.
I
You
think
mean like
so.
secular concert or
Well, I mean, like, well, I went to rap concert. It wasn't. I don't know if you call it secular. It was like Lecrae. I don't
oh,
know. We went
we've
there in
seen
college. I don't think
Lecrae. I
there
don't know we saw him with you.
at a concert.
I didn't see
I
the
don't
crate.
remember.
I
Manny
saw
Mineo.
Lecrae.
I
Those are
know.
the types of concerts I don't. I
Yeah.
can't remember if I've been to another type of.
We've
Those are probably
gone
the
to
most hyped concerts
Passion.
I've been to.
Yeah, we've seen Crowder, we've seen Chris Tomlin, we've seen basically any big
Casting crowns.
US
Yeah.
person you can think of. We've probably seen them. We've gone to a few Hispanic ones, not as many, but we've gone to a few.
Oh, I've gone to many Hispanic ones. Like me
Yeah, she
myself.
has. I've
Have
seen
you?
Mercy Me multiple times.
Oh, I've
Um,
seen Mercy Me too.
I
I
saw
saw that
Mercy
one.
yeah.
Me.
So
Yeah.
one of the members of Mercy Me's band is Catholic. So they would actually come to some of the Catholic events when I was younger. So
Hmm.
they were like one of the first contemporary bands that I got into because they would come. So yeah, and then I think one of the members was like good friends with some baseball player there in the Rangers. I don't know if you guys remember that. So they
Mercy
always
Me
went
was.
once a year to the Rangers games.
Did
Mm,
you go with me when we went to see Mercy Me at the Rangers
I
game?
think.
I think it was me and you, Wolf.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
I'm trying
saw
to.
them somewhere else. It was at a Grand Prairie Arena or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, and we're gonna start moving on to the next comment, but unfortunately, with a lot of the stuff this guy's complaining, or I mean, I don't know if it's a guy or a girl to be honest, but
It just.
it just seems like
It's a matter
it's
of
it's
preference.
surface stuff. It's
Yeah.
not
It's
theological
not
stuff.
theological.
Yeah.
Um,
It's
Mhm.
a preference thing. He doesn't prefer the louder music or the louder.
yeah, and unfortunately, in the US,
Some people do.
you can find whatever you want, and
Yeah.
What do you mean, unfortunately?
I say
Unfortunately, that's what I'm
unfortunately.
wondering. Like, isn't that fortunately? So everyone can be
I say in the
happy?
sense of we've divided ourselves so much in like our differences
Okay.
that you can just go visit to the next 400 churches in
There's
Dallas.
something different in each
There's the
church.
you're gonna find the one thing for you. Like there's a cowboy church,
Yeah.
there's probably a Star Trek church in
Is there
Dallas
a
that I
Star
don't know
Wars church? Is there a
about.
Star Wars church?
No, there's
Oh,
I'm
I'm
sure
like,
you
where
can
can I
find
go to a Star
something.
Wars church? That would be
I'm
fun.
There is a
A
kind
Star Wars themed church.
You might find like a youth group like that. But okay, let's see. Gonna
ooh,
try to um okay, so here's another one. Here's another comment. I'm gonna try to again be very cautious with names, but it
let
says
me hold on just before you go through. I had a
Are we
lot of
supposed
thought on that man and his situation, but I completely forgot all of them.
Oh,
No, actually, I do remember one thing. I do remember in the church in Oklahoma, there was a lot of people that also they were like, "Oh, we're not really music people," and I was like, "Okay." So they would
hmm.
stay in the lobby while the music was going on, and they would just be like sitting down, and then once the sermon started, or like once the kids came out for children's church, then they would walk in. And I always
yeah,
thought that was interesting. I was like,
Hmm.
huh. Because to me, I don't know if it's
I
because
like
I grew up
music.
like in a musical family, or if it's because to me personally, worship is a big deal, or maybe like a combination of both. I couldn't fathom just like sitting there and missing out on worship. I don't know.
yeah, yeah. I'm the
Yeah.
same way. It bothers me, and I'm sure this
When
bothers
people skip
Emily
worship
of,
or what? Or just,
well, yeah, it bothers me if I miss one part of worship.
oh, if you miss
So
worship. Okay.
yeah, so here in the valley, like I'm rushing everyone out the door, like
Yeah, because you got to
because
be there on time to get the worship. So I was late for church and
yeah,
miss. I show up right when the worship ended. That happened to
yeah.
me.
Yeah, and I mean, we have four kids, and the church that we go here in the valley, they have a class for each one, and they're very much apart from each other. And they have a whole system that we have to sign them in for each one. So it takes 15 to 20 minutes to get them to their classes. And then I like to sit in the first three, four rows. Because I feel like if I sit any further than that, it's more distracting to me. Um, and I don't know if I have ADHD, but um,
She
I
would
get
know.
this. I people watch a lot, and that's a bad
You
habit.
do. You're
But
very observant. You notice so many things when we're amongst a lot of people.
yeah,
You
yeah.
notice a lot.
I remember we would go to the mall, we would sit down and eat, and then I would tell Amaris like, "Did you hear what the people two tables away from us were doing?"
I
And
know
we're
he
saying,
listens. Irvin doesn't seem like he's paying attention to things around, but he is paying attention. Like he
"Yeah,
hears stuff and sees
yeah."
stuff.
Well, and most of the time I just pretend I don't hear stuff just for people don't feel uncomfortable. But yes. And it's just like I'm very multitasky person. Um
You just
so
invented that
anyways,
word.
yeah, I don't know if that's a word. Okay, next one. Next one. We are gonna keep this podcast under an hour.
Sorry, just
Next
trying to thoughts.
Yes, get out of your chest. This one's a short one, and I think we might have some comments. It says, "I have a very important question for the pastor, and the pastor's wife told me that he cannot answer any personal questions because he is too busy. So I asked his wife for some advice, and I guess she's too busy as well. You're all so wrong for treating me like this." Um, pastor
Mhm.
or pastor's wife, can you please oh sorry, you can run, but you can't hide.
You put that in the review?
Okay, that was yeah, I didn't read that part completely full when I got this. That's a
You can
threat.
run, but you can't
I,
hide?
Yo, that
That
was
sounds
nice
threatening.
because
Honestly, I was like on the guy's side at first, or whoever this was, and then why would you put
for
that
the
at the
guy,
end?
I think the girl.
yeah.
That
Now,
sounds, or maybe it's a girl.
I
Yeah.
know there was some drama in this church at some point, and looking at the years, how many years ago this was, it kind of adds up. So maybe this is one of the concerned parents. I'm
Mm.
just gonna throw that out there.
Mm.
So I think that's where it's coming from. Don't have that for sure confirmed, but
Okay.
let's just focus on the fact of the
You can
bigger the
run, but
church,
you can't hide.
the fact that the more the church grows, it's a big tendency for it to be very difficult to reach the pastor.
Hmm.
Yes,
They
because
could go be multiple pastors normally in bigger
yeah,
churches. You
that's
have
what I feel. Yeah,
you have a youth pastor or the children's minister, the worship minister, and then you'll have like an associate pastor, and then whatever other pastors.
yeah. I think I'm wondering why didn't they send this person to someone else? They delegated to handle these matters. I'm wondering. Why
Yeah,
wasn't this
it
person
feels like there's no
redirected to someone
direction.
who has the time or who can help them? I'm wondering if they gave them direction to someone else
Yeah.
that could help them. That's what I'm wondering.
Because again, I know the church, they're organized to an extent. So they could have said, okay, well, we can't talk to you, but so and so can.
Yes,
It
yeah.
didn't seem like that happened. Again, I feel like this is maybe part of that drama, which is probably why she posted this
Mhm.
so many years ago or amount of years ago. I won't say. But so yeah, but yeah, it's very common. I know in Oklahoma, our big motto was we weren't ever going to be unavailable, um, which can be a burden on the pastors,
Hmm.
but at the same
Yeah.
time, it does help the congregation for us to be available and stuff like that. So even though we weren't working on certain days, we would get texts sometimes, we would get calls. Um, I have several stories that you know, um, where I got calls and I had to leave the house on a day off to go deal with something. And it just, it is what it is. Um, I think pastors should, when they're going into that position, should have that mentality of your time at this point is not your time anymore because you are a pastor.
Yeah,
So
that's why it can be
you
very draining for pastors, but
Yeah.
it's the
I,
truth.
I
Yes.
mean, I can understand whoever the pastor was saying they don't have time because they, to some extent, put the church before everything. And I mean, I personally, as a previous pastor's wife, I hated that. I was like, yo, the family time needs to be first.
yeah.
But
Yes.
I mean,
And there is people that will drain leadership just
Yeah.
to drain the leadership. Like they can easily get the help from somewhere else, but
Yeah. So if they
um
just decided, I want help only from this person, and I'm
yeah,
not really open to anyone else.
I feel like that's what it was in this situation. Maybe the dilemma that she had, or whatever she wanted to talk about, she was like, I need to talk to, the senior pastor, not
yeah,
Yes.
whoever else.
yeah. Which again, it can be difficult with like I know we visited so many churches where we've never met the pastors. Because even in smaller churches, some pastors don't make themselves available on
Right.
Sundays.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
They the church I went to growing up, the pastor felt like, or he made it himself seem like he was untouchable. Like,
I
you
don't know if
he
that's a
would
good thing.
probably, yeah, he would probably say, oh, you need to talk to, so and so instead of me. And then you would go to that person, and and they would be like, well, I need to ask the pastor. And so it was a lot of like waiting, because those are also the type of pastors that, even though they don't want to talk to the congregation, in a way they still want control. So
Yeah.
you had to wait for their response, and waiting for the response sometimes took months, or I don't know, it took a long time.
Yeah, I'm still waiting to see if I can marry Amadis or not. So,
Wow.
no, no, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I feel
I
like
didn't even ask them.
still waiting. You're not.
We ain't going to that church.
And I
So,
feel like the pastor, if he's not really dealing with the matters of help, yeah, it seems like you're just kind of a church manager, in a sense. You're just managing the operations of the church. You're not really dealing with the day-to-day needs of the people. You know, that you just kind of make yourself very unavailable, and you mostly deal with the church leadership, but you don't deal with the people themselves. I think the church definitely has to realize their priorities, and they have to be there for the needs of the people. I think that's could be very important. I also think that it's very easy to get burnt out as a pastor. I'm sure the burnout rates for pastors is very high as well. Like I don't know the numbers, but I don't think most pastors just don't last, right? If I remember.
yeah. Which
Yeah,
I understand, like a lot of pastors that do last, they put those boundaries.
yeah,
And rightfully so, they have to put those boundaries. But at the same time, is those boundaries sometimes filter out people that really do need help.
right.
So
Yeah,
it's a hit or miss.
you have to, yeah, manage it
Yeah.
correctly. Yeah.
I'll share a small story because as pastors, we would get texts and calls, and we would have to decide, are we gonna acknowledge it or we're gonna ignore it, right? And there was one time that I noticed that a church member had called me twice, and my mind went, it's Friday night.
I think it was really
I
late.
the first few calls was like 9 p.m. And
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? I'm with my wife, and at the time it was my two daughters. It was two daughters ready, or was it one daughter?
No, it was two.
It was two. Okay. But anyways, I ignored it, and then when we got home, it was probably 10:30 when we got home, and I checked my phone, and two calls became like 12 calls. So that gave me like, oh shoot, I completely ignored this.
Wait, it was
Yeah, 12 calls? That would sound like an
yeah.
emergency.
Yeah.
No, it was one daughter. Sorry, I think I was pregnant.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Okay. So anyways, long story short, like this lady was an advocate for a family of our church, and the family of the church was a Hispanic family. The senior pastor was gone for like 2 weeks. He was doing something else at a different church in a different state, and it was a very serious thing. A little boy had died, and it was like it was. Eventually, we found out it was an SA deal that happened on top of other horrible things that happened to the little boy. So I called the other pastors, and we went off and did that. But you know, even
Yeah,
to the day, I feel bad for not answering fast
Yeah.
enough, right?
yeah.
Um, so, and again, I didn't notice the 11 calls. Like, it wasn't like I was like
You
going
kind of put your phone away.
again,
Yeah,
again. Like, I wasn't doing that. I literally saw two calls. It can wait till Sunday. It was Friday night. It was late. So I put my phone away. And when I got back to it, it was 11 calls. So, anyways,
yeah.
if you do that, like if you do put that boundary, then you're filtering events like this where a pastor's needed, like
They
highly
really need
needed.
someone. Yeah,
There was a lot of hurt that night. I don't think I got back to home till real
I
late.
think you came back like at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
What I remember.
Um, and even then, I think one of the pastors still stayed for the rest of the night. But so yeah, you live life, but also uh,
Yeah.
you know, you live and learn, I guess.
And
But
I think that's one of the great things of having a church community where they can provide that support in those, traumatic times like that.
yeah,
That's an awful, horrible time for a family. And then they're looking for, guidance or leadership, to help them in that situation. And yeah, the hard part is like it's great. That's what people need in the church, but then also it can be, it can burn out people, like such as, church
Right,
it can.
leaders,
Yeah,
because you're on call all the time for
right.
situations like that. Someone's in the hospital, someone died. They're calling you because they need help, they need support.
yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the other hand, like in situations like that, I think it's 100% fine to call. In fact, I encourage it. Call your pastor or call whoever you feel comfortable with calling in those times. But then there's other situations, like other calls that he would get that I would be like, that could have been a text message.
yeah,
Because they were in the middle of dinner or whatever, and they called him, and they were they were like, "Oh, I'm just gonna make something up. Oh, remember that Bible story you taught us? Well, I remember the lesson today, and I applied it, and yada yada yada." And
They
I
called
was,
for that,
no, you could have text messaged that,
texted or
yeah,
or
emailed.
you could
yeah.
have emailed it.
It,
Send the email that your Bible lesson, I was
yeah.
able to apply it in real
Well,
life.
and I don't want to say sad truth, but the truth behind those calls is that there's people that
They're sad and lonely.
Like
their church is the only community they have.
Yeah.
Like they have no work, they have no job, they have nothing. Like
they're
they
not
don't
going
have
to
any other
school, probably.
community. Yeah, they have no other community than the church community. So, um, in my case, a lot of the people that were my ministry, I was bringing them into the church. I was the outreach pastor, so we came like I had personal attachment to them to an extent, so they felt that security of, you know what, I'm just gonna call him and tell him, which is nice, but yes, it's like that could have been a comment on a Bible study, or it could have been a comment during
Yeah.
church or whatever,
Yeah.
but
I imagine that they're
See,
like, oh, before I forget, let me call him. But
see,
I
I feel
they
if you
could
didn't have a family and you're just a single guy, it would be a little different because you probably have more
have.
time. But when you have a family, it's hard when you leave church or leave your job, you want to spend time with them and, devote your time and attention to them. So,
yeah.
you know, I, I don't, I can understand I can see what you're saying, why they would want to call. They want to connect. That's the community that they have, but also at the same time, it's like it's a little much as far as like pushing
Water.
you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I also, and just to kind of dabble in, a lot of these people that were calling, they were women, and I don't want to like call them out or anything, but sometimes I would be like, I wish that they would communicate with another female leader or something, because I don't know,
Did they,
it could have led to something inappropriate,
did
but
people ever call you?
no,
Not really.
no, they didn't. No.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
Irvin.
Okay. Last one star review. We got about 20 minutes left. So this is a very lengthy story, but I'm pretty sure this person was just venting. So I'll get through it pretty fast. It says, so have you ever heard of a church calling CPS because of a child tantrum? They never mentioned anything before or after CPS visit. Never a phone call, never an apology, never acknowledged their wrongdoing. The only time the senior pastor came to me, I noticed the security guard was very close in proximity. She claims not knowing anything. Now, the lady from the children's ministry acts like the victim, came to me saying my child had three different signs that made her report. Um, Long story, but this happened after the news that I just mentioned a few moments ago. I can tell they were all trying to keep a salary. My son, who has been struggling with faith, had said to leave church before this even happened. So now he has a better excuse to not come to his faith. Yes, this was my church for 6 years. My 5-year-old child still misses going, but how can you possibly